What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It's that time of the week where Kyle and we've got the latest and greatest RWA tokenization news for you. And wow, what a packed week it is this week, Kyle. We've got to get right into it with this show, I think. But how are you this fine week, my friend?
Herwig, I'm doing great. It's May now. We are fully in the swing of things here in 2025. And coming up on our 6-year anniversary of the podcast, if you can believe that, which is just incredible. That's only a month or so away. But Herwig, I'm ready to dive right into the news.
A few holiday breaks here and there, but almost 6 years running, Kyle. Episode 282. Let's run it. All right, Kyle, it's time for the biggest impacts the market made this week, if you will. That's why we're having the market movement segment of the show. Unfortunately, no guest contributors this week. We had a few dropouts, but we've got some confirmations for next week, so I'm looking forward to it. But it doesn't mean we don't have a lot of great stuff to talk about, Kyle. I mean, can we talk about, first of all, that Circle Ripple situation going on here?
Yeah.
First coming in for almost $5 billion, and they're like, nah, and then, goes to show you, don't ever take the first offer, because boom, 20 billion. They're clearly serious about making a wave and trying to court Circle into a acquisition here, instead of, as we all know, their plans to do an IPO, right? So Kyle, would love your thoughts.
Yeah, as you said, a $5 billion offer scaling to a $20 billion second offer here from Ripple for Circle. I think that 5 billion number was somewhere right around where they were planning to IPO. And so a 4x IPO valuation for the company is wild. I think that it's a really big deal. I know that Ripple has had plenty of what would you call it? Regulatory hurdles that they've had to fight through. Scrutiny, perhaps. And so I think this is a really interesting thing, because obviously they're trying to kind of go after that payments rails infrastructure, acquiring a huge asset with large AUM, I think is really valuable. But you wonder how much money Circle's actually making on that, and if they are in this for the long run. I mean, Tether being the largest stablecoin, and then Ripple potentially having the second largest stablecoin, does this potentially create an opportunity for a larger banking player to try to come in here and argue that, with a large stack of treasuries and with maybe a longer brand reputation, does that potentially open the door for a third player to come into the US-based market, especially with the Genius Act coming for stablecoin regulation? Really, really interesting to see also how this impacts the Circle IPO. I was excited to see them actually successfully IPO, and since they've worked so closely with Coinbase, was there maybe an opportunity for their equity to be tokenized to some degree, or some tokenized opportunity? Now that seems like that's probably on ice.
I think without a doubt, we're going to see more stablecoin players get in the game. It's only gotten easier to launch, and it's just the beginning in this race, I think. But to me, it makes a lot of sense. Honestly, Ripple should have had that kind of degree of success as the original payments rail company for blockchain anyway, right? So I think buying Circle kind of makes up for a lot of their failure to have the second largest stable coin in the space today. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's surprising we don't actually have a major known stable coin, right? Like it does make a lot of sense, like, for kind of their mission. And I'm surprised they haven't done something like this sooner, even if it was like to acquire a smaller project or something. It seems like this is very brand aligned.
Could be a good way to do it right. But also another big player, BlackRock, they filed saying that they're going to use their Treasury Trust Fund, which is worth $150 billion in AUM, sitting with Bank of New York Mellon, by the way, that they're going to use blockchain to be able to track and create a mirror set of ownership for this fund, right? We all know that you cannot use a blockchain as a source of truth right now. That's some regulation or legislation that needs to be passed so we can see that actually come to fruition here. But it goes to show you that BlackRock is already starting to play beyond now their BUIDL fund here. And I don't know if this is a full-on tokenization or if this is purely an internal ledger DLT type benefit, and we're not actually going to see any kind of a tokenized product come out, right? I think it's more likely the former, Kyle, where they're just using it just as a way to improve their internal systems, not necessarily to offer an end user token product like they do with BUIDL to other institutions at least, or like we see with Franklin Templeton with Benji to retail, right? They've actually tokenized a publicly registered fund. So any thoughts on this one, Kyle?
Yeah, it shows that clearly they see the digital asset market as a new distribution channel. And I've spoken with a few different banks who do see the same, that the biggest thing for these guys is to scale AUM, and the more they can access new customers is really the name of the game right now. I don't think a lot of these firms are weighing the efficiencies that we've talked about so many times here on the show. I don't think that's the main driver right now for a lot of these funds. It's actually very much in new markets, new capital, new distribution solutions. So if you're a company in the industry looking to pitch these banks, looking to get involved, it's all going to come down to how are you helping them solve the distribution problem for their products.
I think that's definitely the easiest use case here and reasoning for wanting to explore the sector. But that's why I'm curious to see what kind of use case of blockchain is this for BlackRock, and if there's anything more to learn from that. But moving on, actually, Kyle, I want to celebrate the fact that it feels like venture is back, man, or at least for the space. We've seen the last couple of years, some good fundraisers for the big name companies here and there. But now we're seeing some of the newer players start to get funded again, and I'm excited. Particula specifically raised over $5 million. That's a big deal. It's, a company sort of in the infrastructure space, similar to STM.co, right, where they actually do ratings and they actually have their own very deep analytics platform, and they're actually planning to use AI as well, apparently, to power a lot of these ratings. So they're very important, I think critical, in fact, to the industry. And they're a German-based company, Kyle. The whole team is moving to the USA. To Jersey, to be in New York, basically. So good for them. I think that's a win for America. So, and then also Denari raised 12 million, Kyle, even more to power their, of course, now fast growing tokenized stocks platform. They've tokenized a bunch of public equities that they've offered to international investors. And some big venture investors, obviously, into the Series A. So exciting news for Denari. We're actually going to have an interview with them next week to learn a little bit more about that. But Kyle, you excited as I am about all this fundraising activity?
Yeah, venture's back, man. Great to see. The Particula team is fantastic. I've spent a lot of time talking with them over many different conferences now, and the tokenized stock thing is something I'm super bullish on. So I love both of these use cases. I think that they're both really needed in the market. It's cool to see, more businesses getting capitalized and being able to scale and grow their businesses. We need it in the industry. And hopefully they can take that mantle and really drive success so that other companies can also realize the benefits of the growing narrative of RWA. So major shout outs to Particula and Denari. Almost $20 million in funding just between those two companies in these recent funding rounds.
Yeah, I'm very, very psyched for them. But, it's also pretty cool. The most profitable RWA company in the space, talking about none other than Tether. We've seen their rise with the stablecoin growth, their dominance in transaction volume, their incredible size of purchasing power of U.S. treasuries, right? To the point where he's getting invited to the White House, as he should be, for the amount of treasuries he's buying. But Tether, Kyle, also has a gold product. And turns out they've got over 7.7 tons of gold behind their XAUT product, which is more than several countries like Luxembourg, Colombia, and many other kind of like developing countries types, right? That's a pretty interesting narrative here. We're seeing them grow different currencies, but also commodities now, kind of backed coins. What do you think about this one? I know you're a big commodities guy, so I'd love your insight.
Definitely a big commodities guy. It's a huge opportunity. And you're going to continue to see these types of products grow as the digital asset industry, quite frankly, looks to back so much of this crypto value in real stuff. And this is, I think, a tremendous success. Tether's an incredible company. I mean, they made $13 billion in profit last year, which means that they made about $60 million in profit per employee. They are crushing. They obviously have the largest stablecoin in the market, which gives them so much cash flow because they don't have to pay that treasury yield to anybody. They get to keep that in their pocket. And it's cool to see that they're working on the commodity space. It's a natural fit. It's something that I've been spending almost all of my time focused on in the work I've been doing with global settlement, and couldn't be more aligned with Tether's vision here.
Well, we're going to keep watching Tether for sure. They have Hadron now for tokenization. We're going to be keeping an eye on the big moves behind Tether here. Kyle, there's just a few more here in the market movement. So I want to bring up MetaWealth. Okay, they have been very actively growing their real estate tokenization platform. It's powered on Solana. And now they have a VASP license, a virtual asset service provider license out of Lithuania. So they are now operating fully regulated in Europe, if you will. And they also did something pretty cool, Kyle, worth mentioning. They ended up plugging in some of their products into a Bloomberg terminal. So they're now listed tokenized real estate into Bloomberg. And they are about to close on a multi-million-dollar Wyndham hotel. I think it's in Spain, if I'm correct. So they are tokenizing. They're building infrastructures and licensing. Good for MetaWealth on the move here. I think it echoes the trend that tokenized real estate, just because it's not as sexy as maybe private credit or tokenizing public equities, don't sleep on it. It is happening right before us, right underneath us.
That's absolutely right. And remember, it's a digital market. So, just bringing these properties online allows anybody to participate. And there's so much wealth in the world collectively that's just kind of dispersed, that's maybe not as concentrated as we see in some of the larger city centers or country regions. But that doesn't mean that people don't have money and don't want to invest in their local ecosystems. And so this is a really cool move from MetaWealth.
And this last one I got, folks, is awesome news in my opinion. It's finally happened. We heard last year that Sony, big old Sony, was getting into the game. They launched their own chain, Sonium. And we knew that RWAs would eventually be a part of this narrative. And now it's happened. Plume has partnered up with Sonium, Sony's new blockchain, for staking and yield opportunities. We know that's where Plume has been heavily bringing in their Nest and similar vault style products right behind RWAs. It's my narrative of the year, if you will. So I love to see this announcement. Now Sony's officially legit RWA active with Sonium, and Plume continuing to just make moves after moves after moves. Anything you want to end on with this, Kyle?
Hey, I hope it works. I know Sony has been working through some security stuff, and so hopefully working with a product like Plume can be a good solution for them. I know that I think Plume's still in their test net as well, so doing some initial integrations there could be really, really great. Plume obviously has incredible reach and has done such a tremendous job from a PR and branding perspective. I know Sony has a lot of goals of doing IP tokenization and media rights and things like that. So it does seem like a really good fit on the surface. Let's just make sure that the tech rollout works well.
Let's, of course, keep an eye on it, as we always do every week here on The Industry with the show, which is why we've got even more news to get into. So let's get on with the show. All right, everybody. Not much of a huge update here for the RWA Foundation, other than the time is coming. We have a set on where we're going to be doing, a Wally launch, infrastructure partners, how it's looking. It is going to be pioneering, one of a kind, no bots, community first, no VCs. You heard it here first, but that's all I've got. Meanwhile, just go check out RWAF.xyz, join our Telegram channel where we've got an awesome herd of RWA pioneers and fans. And meanwhile, just stay tuned, keep watching, support us on X. And let's get to the token debrief. All right, Kyle, we have a lot more news to cover right now. So I think I'm just going to get right into it, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, first, we're going to talk about announcements, okay? Calastone, a major asset manager out of the UK, and they have a fund tokenization platform, folks. They are integrated with Fireblocks as an infrastructure partner. This tells me that they're keying up potentially some very institutional clients, and I think we're going to hear some pretty big news from that soon. Centrifuge has officially launched an RWA Launchpad. We've been talking about this as a trend in the past in the show, Kyle, and now I'm glad to see it starting to come together and happen. We got RWA Launchpads, and Centrifuge, of course, has all of the different pieces. They now have the asset management part, recently partnering up with Janus Henderson, right? They have their own tokenization infrastructure. They've got DeFi integrations. Heck, they basically invented the vaults game with Stakehouse, right? Very cool to see that. And I can't wait to see what kind of products they attract to their launch pad here. Also worth mentioning, the ERC 3643 Association did announce interoperability, proof of concept for their DVP solution across different chains, right? So this is a big deal if you're using that standard. Goldman Sachs is also getting into the crypto trading game now, saying they're also exploring crypto lending specifically, probably where they see the opportunity to make a buck, and asset tokenization, which we've known. They've mentioned that they were going to launch, I think, 3 products supposedly this year. They mentioned that last year. I don't know what we've seen to come together that yet, but I'm sure we'll see something very soon. And then finally, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the NSE, and DeFi Technologies are going to get Kenya on chain with their own digital exchange. So the NASDAQ of Kenya on chain is coming, Kyle. Any thoughts on all of these announcements?
Yeah, well, look, I really like the crypto lending aspect, so I'm excited that Goldman is exploring that. I think that, collateralization is a really key opportunity for the tokenization space. So the more that these firms are comfortable with lending and collateralization and locking up a lot of these things and providing liquidity, I think that's really, really valuable for our industry. And if it starts with crypto, the same tech can apply to other tokenized assets. So I'm pretty psyched about that. Some of the other stuff makes a lot of sense. Cool announcements. Shout out to Centrifuge. They just keep doing great stuff. So I'm a big fan of what they're doing.
Well, I'm glad that's what you're most excited about, Kyle, because we saw some big news in the actual activity front of tokens, right? Live tokens. Apollo's a cred token through a Morpho vault powered with Gauntlet and Securitize, of course, on Polygon, by the way, for anyone who's curious. Is now available. So we're actually seeing that come to fruition in terms of borrowing, lending, especially on an institutional level here, given the product we're using with Apollo. And, as we've seen, we've covered a lot of different kind of vault news. Also, Libre is to bring institutions to the TON blockchain, right? So Telegram has their own TON blockchain that also now powers RWA, specifically going to be a $500 million Telegram bond fund. We have no details on any of the actual yield or anything like that, but the TBF coin will be launching in partnership with TON Foundation to bring more assets to TON here, I guess, through this yield play. Libre, of course, having a great background with Brevin Howard backing them and many others, doing a lot of institutional activity. Also, Hilbert Group announced their own tokenized Bitcoin yield offering, and it's available on the Synthetica platform. That's Syntetika. If you want to get access to this tokenized Bitcoin yield product and do your own research there, of course. KFW, Kyle, making moves, investing $10 million in HIP HYP out of Berlin in the $100 million covered, or 100 million euro, covered bond, which KfW is making a lot of moves as we reported on the show. Wormhole is continuing their interoperability for RWA's mission here, bringing on another 200 million in pipeline with Mercado Bitcoin. That's the biggest crypto exchange out of Latin America. That bet you didn't know. They also do RWAs, and they're getting big into it. As Wormhole also participated in some of the offering, apparently. And Multibank is apparently tokenizing $3 billion of UAE real estate on Maverick, MAVRYK, with Mag Group. We've seen Mag Group pretty active in a lot of different deals. So nice to see these big billion-dollar Middle Eastern deals continue to happen. I want to see them actually on chain. We want to track them. We'll do our best. And then finally, Liquid Noble has expanded more utility to their LGAO, tokenized gold, as we talked about previously in the last segment. Tokenizing gold is becoming very, very popular. Great use case. Kyle, any reactions to these updates on that live RWA market, man? Just alive and well.
Yeah, well, look, Herwig, you told me off screen about some of the difficulties of participating in vault products, and they can offer really strong yield, but they're pretty difficult to participate in if you're a traditional investor. And they also certainly come with operational risks, right? You're dealing with crypto, and if you send something wrong, the money's gone forever. So I think that Securitize putting out products that can capitalize on some of these vault yields in a more streamlined, traditional way, I think is really great. So Securitize continuing to kind of bridge that TradFi DeFi gap is, I think, huge. I'm hopeful for this Foundation thing. There wasn't a ton of no pun intended, information in their press release around what the terms of this thing look like or how they're going to handle distributions or some of those things, but would love to see new tokenized assets coming to market. And many of these banks, this is, slowly and then suddenly kind of a thing, right? Where all these guys start to get involved right around the same time, and wonderful to see.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be covering so much activity in the actual market, Kyle. But of course, what we did most of the past was covering a lot of regulatory updates, of course, all around the world. Cool one I want to start off with is the Solana Policy Institute teamed up with Superstate and Orca, which we heard Orca Tokenize This talk about their vision of supporting RWAs. They are one of the largest decentralized exchanges, folks. They are doing a pilot proposal to bring U.S. equities on public blockchains. Okay, so trading them, issuing them all on a public blockchain. There's an SEC filing you can go check out regarding this. I love to see this kind of rather less sexy, activity that has to happen. These conversations and public, support to the regulators, okay, to the SEC to get them to actually move forward with a lot of this stuff. So. Good. Kudos to everybody involved, I'll say, Kyle. And then Pakistan is getting into the game with their first tokenized gold product using Facet. Okay, Facet is powering this. They have a sandbox license over there in Pakistan, which means, as we said again, gold is hot, and it's coming to Pakistan on chain. Argentina is also getting into the game. They've presented a tokenization framework, which is really what should be done in the U.S. and everywhere, really trying to codify and create a real clear rule system for tokenized assets and securities. And that's saying something, because recently we also saw, Kyle, the news around Orange with a J, which Itaú Bank allocated over 200 million in Bitcoin to kind of copy against the Saylor strategy and now 21 Capital model. So we're going to see those rise more and more. But good on Argentina, really starting to go big on crypto and tokenization. And finally, the World Federation of Exchanges, as they've been, keep pushing CBDCs and the potential of it. So if you want to go read their report and release, good reporting from Ledger Insights there on some CBDC policy and opinion there. So Kyle, any comments on what's happening around the world here?
Yeah, I mean, we'll keep it quick, but I just think it's interesting that there's a lot of copying of the Sailor strategy model. There's just only so much Bitcoin to go around, and you're not going to have too many of these companies that are really going to be able to copy that model at scale before we really start to run out of Bitcoin. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the Sailor mad dash to just keep accumulating. It certainly still keeps paying off despite the haters, despite everybody that thinks he's wrong. The price just seems to go up, and there seems to be more and more people that continue to try to bet on that model. It could be a really fascinating play when we look back.
Oh yeah, I completely agree, Kyle. I completely agree.
On what this Bitcoin journey looks like for a lot of these large firms.
Oh, I just lost you there. Yep, no. Like I was saying, yep, I completely agree on that. It's going to be fascinating to see if there are more of those players. How saturated, how quickly does this saturate when you try to employ that strategy all around the world versus just in the States? But Kyle, as we go to pick our companies of the week, I do want to end on yet another prediction, another week, another prediction. This was from Deloitte saying that 25% of all cross-border payments by 2030 will be done on-chain, predicting about $50 billion in savings. Chew on that, folks. Think about that one. Do you agree? And if so, very powerful, I'd say, $50 billion in savings. With that, Kyle, let's go pick our winners.
Let's do it.
Ooh, favorite part of the show, isn't it, Kyle?
That's right. It is the companies of the week. Herwig, we have had so much news this week, but only one thing matters. Well, there's a lot of things that matter. These are all great companies, but the biggest, most important thing that matters this week is the fact that we are picking two companies, as we do each and every week, that are leading the charge, that are doing something novel, interesting, deserving of a shout out, of recognition. Of course, I'm talking about our companies of the week. They get nominated for the Company of the Year award, the most illustrious award in tokenization, in crypto, in finance, in fintech, and honestly, global politics and everything under the sun. 6 years running, episode 282. Herwig, I'm waiting with bated breath. I need to know, who is your company of the week?
Like you said, there was a lot of news. If everyone watched through that full show, that's a lot to pick from and a lot of great activity, right? This is a tough choice, but I'm close to the team now. I feel like we've talked a lot. We're working a lot together. They pulled up to tokenize this. I'm talking about none other than Particula, who well deserves their $5 million that they raised. I'm excited for them. I want them to keep bringing their ratings to the industry because it's critical, I think, for investors to be able to get this kind of information and intelligence that their team so diligently puts together. Like, it's really great work for anyone who's checked out their reports. Just head over there to Particula. But also, I think Trump needs to highlight this, man. This is a company coming outside, a crypto company, if you will, a tokenization company coming from outside America, moving to the United States. This is reinforcing that we want to be the crypto capital of the world, that America is friendly again, that we are seeing innovators and entrepreneurs move to the States. So yeah, Trump, give Particula a boost, please. Put RWAs on the map, and good on them for making the right choice. Welcome to America.
The greatest foreign company in tokenization coming to the U.S. I could see it now. I could see the award now.
The ratings are so great. Better than anyone's. But I don't have the sole choice of picking a company of the week, Kyle. So tell me who you got this week.
Herwig, I gave a winner to somebody that we didn't give like a ton of lip service to earlier in the episode when we covered their headline, and that's KFW. So KFW is a investment bank. They're a placement agent. They do a lot of tokenization, and they certainly get very involved in the industry. And I wanted to shout them out because they're doing something that you do a lot, or you like to use this phrase a lot, Herwig, which is to eat your own dog food, right? And so KFW, I think, they're obviously a German investment bank. And they've worked as an issuer, and they've tried to bring tokenized projects and tokenized trials to market, which I think is wonderful. But they didn't just stop there. They announced this week that they are actually investing into what they call crypto security, but a tokenized security product. This is a digital mortgage that is $100 million maturity debt offering. They're putting up $10 million of their own capital. They've raised almost $80 billion to date, but they actually don't have any customer deposits. They don't carry a big AUM. So this isn't necessarily something they actively do very often. And yet instead, they are seeding the vehicle. They are investing in the digital bond on top of being an issuer on these products, so they can really get a full understanding of the entire life cycle. And so I just love capital deployment. I love banks that kind of speak with their wallet. And so I think that for those reasons, I want to give KFW the award.
I think that's an absolutely great choice. Well curated, thoughtful, not just going for the biggest moves. KFW, indeed, eating their own dog food. I love it. People got to represent. Why are you talking about tokenization when you're not doing it yourself? It's
right. And nobody's going to invest if they if they're a placement agent, they need to be able to say, yeah, we have confidence in this thing.
Yeah, so good on that. Leading by example, if you will.
That's right.
Great reason to win Company of the Week. Good on you, KFW and Particula, for winning this week. It might just win you Company of the Year. Who knows? We'll see only next year. In the meantime, folks, we've got all the latest and greatest data and news over at stm.co. Brand new interface, look and feel, and brand. So go check it out. Give us your feedback. We're building live and in the open and updating new features every day. And of course, Kyle, any closing comments and thoughts? What's the latest with global settlement?
Hey, things are really, really good. We're in testnet phase for a lot of our blockchain tech. So anybody that wants to tokenize assets, if you're looking to bring on stablecoin solutions, commodities, gold, oil, those types of things, or work on better understanding how to connect different treasury products together, we're doing a lot of interoperability, a lot of tokenization right now, and business development has been super strong. So if you're interested, definitely get in touch with me sooner rather than later, because I'm still doing the founder-led sales thing, and while it's nice, it's a lot to handle. So hit me up.
Go hit up Kyle if you got a great product. And meanwhile, if you miss tokenize this, go to our YouTube STM TV official. We've got the playlist coming out on all the great panels, keynotes, and cool interviews as well that we caught in New York City with the greatest pioneers in the industry. So meanwhile, have a great weekend and happy tokenizing.